Hello, my name is Dora Maxi. I have experience as a project manager, team leader, business analyst, and a designer. I worked with developers, QA engineers, and support technicians. I led teams as a servant leader, building products together all around the globe. So that is why I took the chance and applied to this conference. And one more thing, I built up teams from scratch, meaning that I'm very much into interactions between people and between teams. So I would like to talk about assertive and peaceful communication within teams. As remote work becomes more and more popular, companies have the chance to hire people from all around the globe. This, besides its obvious advantages, brings a few problems to solve. So let us see, how do we work in this situation, in this global environment, online or offline? But the main thing is that we work in teams. As I mentioned, companies have the chance to hire people from all around the world, which means that they bring different culture. They have language barriers even. And yeah, let's be honest, we bring our different expectations towards each other. And this might seem a bit difficult to solve, but let's see how can we do that. Imagine a meeting. You received the invite to that meeting that contained no agenda, no rules, no timeline, and there was no facilitation during the meeting. It was a catastrophe. Nobody came prepared, and everyone focused on their own perspectives. It was like you jumped in to the Zoom meeting or whatever, and you were like in the middle of a battle. Everyone was focusing on their agendas, on their main perspectives, and you were about just to listen. And yeah, that is a hard situation to solve, because after that meeting, you felt that your time was wasted. And it happens regularly, at least in my experience. But as a team member and also as a team leader, I was about to do something about this situation, because I wanted action points. I wanted fruitful conversations during these meetings, because to be honest, I hate meetings. What I like more is smooth and flawless teamwork. So what's next? How can we solve this? First of all, be the red umbrella, meaning that you want to avoid assumptions like others will have an exact topic to talk about, others will save the day by thinking during the meeting. And again, others might think that they can get away with the whole meeting if they remain passively silent. What you would like to do here as a red umbrella is that you prepare for a meeting with the aim of having a fruitful conversation, which will result in action points, as I said previously. Share your ideas to kickstart the meeting. If everyone comes unprepared, there won't be anybody who starts the meeting, so be the one who starts it. Involve the others into the discussion. Ask back, hey, what do you think about this? What is your opinion on that? How come that you can help in this situation? So can we rely on your expertise on this? The questions will help to, get things moving. And finally, softly push the participants back to focus. So if they are about to start talking about different stuff, you can elegantly and politely push them back. Hey, our focus is on this. Can you share your thoughts on that? So you can still remain polite, but, get the feeling that there is work to do. Be effective. The reason why I chose this picture is that these wooden toys help effectively and creatively play, which we want to reach in a workplace. So without a well-defined business requirement, UX researchers cannot conduct interviews with the right interviewees. If it's not done, there is no proper data, which means the designers cannot create logically operating flow with the best UI possible. Without the clarification of acceptance criteria, quality controllers can't come up with the rest and with the right test cases, and they will forget about edge cases. Without all the above, you won't be able to provide a proper solution, meaning that end of the day, because you weren't effective enough, the user will suffer, the product will fail. Therefore, what you want to do here is to remain, or even better, be effective all the time. How can you do that? You can communicate transparently and asynchronously all the time. Even if it's only about a code review or a big meeting, you can always clarify the details anytime. You don't need to wait for a stand-up or a certain milestone. What you can always do is check if everything is in place in terms of documentation. If you miss anything, be the one who points it out, again, politely, of course. Establish a culture where everyone comes prepared, and async communication saves time. So imagine a situation where you are effective during the mornings. All your families are gone to school, to work, whatever, and you can finally focus on what you are doing 7 a.m. But all the rest of your team, even within different time zones, they cannot follow you. They will be effective in other times of the day. So that is why async communication clarifies data. It's a written format. It can be cross-referenced, and your thoughts are on the paper already. So you don't have to remember all the stuff. You can share it right away, and responsibles will read it afterwards. One very important factor is to avoid toxicity. Why am I saying this? Because once you feel respected, accepted, and valued, you are much more likely to stay in a job for the long term. And this is not just only you, this is everybody. So you will take an interest in making the product you're working on a success, as this will make your employer feel respected. And at the end of the day, that means a long-term, secure, and stable environment for you as well. This is a mutual collaboration, a win-win situation that benefits both parties and is worth developing. So what can you do? Instead of purely negative comments, make constructive suggestions, conversations, when you disagree with an approach. Point out how a problem could be solved more effectively and nicely. Bring ideas. That is why I said before, or if I haven't, I'm saying now, that agenda is very important when you receive an invite or where you are discussing the details. Because if you have an agenda, preliminary documentation that you can prepare from, you can already form ideas how it can be better. So for example, in case of design reviews or design critiques, we generally share ideas before or prior to the design critique itself, meaning that all the participants are forming their ideas, and a 1 hour slot that we allocate to the design critique is spent by first the demonstration of the certain solution, and second, the constructive feedback. And we end the meeting with action points. That simple as that. Say no. The reason why I chose this image is instead of a stop sign or something like that, because by saying no, you're offering the possibility to the team to avoid mistakes, to choose a different path. If you are able to combine your own professional suggestions with the interests, suggestions, and guidelines of others, you will have the room to extend the cooperation to a much higher level. Even if you say no, if you can prove your point and support it with strong reasoning and examples, you will help others to accept your views. Saying no in a strategically important situation or stopping at a certain point can save save teams and projects from their own mistakes. And finally, this is my favorite one, pushing out the balance. Meaning that don't just put the problem on the table, bring some ideas how to solve it, as I mentioned before. Even if it won't be perfect, it will be good enough to force others to start thinking. Let me share a short story. A few months back, there was a huge project. We needed to design a dashboard for our users with actionable points on the dashboard. Nobody brought an idea. There was no specification, and there was a new project manager. I was new on the project as a designer. Basically, it was, like chaos. And after weeks, I put a certain design on a table, sent it to all the participants, saying that I know that this is not perfect. I know that this doesn't contain all the relevant data that you need, but let's just start iterating on it. And it worked, meaning that when I shared the design, the participants started to comment on a Figma file saying that this shouldn't be here, but rather here because this makes sense there. And you see the rest. They started to get going with the idea, iterate on it. And at the end of the day, after 3 more weeks, we were able to put the specification on the table. I know it's not an ideal workflow, but it worked. And I was constructive in this sense. And everybody felt that they are finally a part of the solution. So don't fear breaking the patterns and iterate again and again. A few things on psychology. The word psychology comes from the Greek words psyche, which means soul, and logia, which means observing. This is exactly what you are doing in a situation like this. What you do when you react to the actions of others during work is a reflection of what you understand from the resonance of others' soul. In other words, it doesn't matter what role you hold in a certain team. What matters is how you can collaborate. This won't just affect on your actual status and position, it will have a strong effect on what you become and how you grow professionally. Do you like to think of yourself as an expert? Act like one. This way you will support your teammates, the processes, and at the end of the day, your behavior and advices will help to run everything smoothly. So, key takeaways. Oboete. Remember, share your ideas to kickstart the meeting, involve others into the discussion, softly push participants back to focus. Be effective. Point out that none of you can't be effective if other actors don't get the attention they deserve in time. Communicate transparently. Establish a culture where everyone benefits from async communication. There is no need to wait for certain milestones. Avoid toxicity. Make constructive suggestions when you don't agree with something. Establish an environment where you feel respected, accepted, and valued. Saying no in a strategically important situation or stopping at a certain point can save teams and projects from their own mistakes. Don't just put the problem on the table, bring some ideas how to solve it. Even if it won't be perfect, it will be good enough to force others to start thinking. ありがとうございました。